right, today I want to go over a couple concepts that are related to the smallpox lecture, and I'm going to attempt to speak over the soothing sounds of my dishwasher as I do that. So the first question that I've gotten in a number of emails so far has to do with whether aerosol transmission of smallpox would be a legitimate bioterrorism threat or not. You know, depending on which expert you read their opinion from, it really seems to be a little bit variable. There's a number of things that you can think of here. And so if I were to ask this on an exam, as long as you can defend your answer, it would be fine. Some things for you guys to think about would be how common is aerosol or airborne transmission of smallpox, but then also think about the number of susceptible people that we would have, as well as things like who can and cannot receive the vaccine and what sort of treatments we have. So this, again, is an opinion-based answer. The other thing I wanted to make sure of, I mentioned it right at the beginning of the lecture, is what made smallpox a disease that we were actually able to eradicate. And this is something that I want to cover in detail for smallpox because I want you guys to think about the likelihood that we will be able to eradicate another disease potentially sometime in the future. So the first thing that's important here is that smallpox is only spread through people. People are the only known reservoir. There are no animals that it successfully infects. There are no insect vectors. And so in terms of areas where we had to control the virus, we only had to control it in people. The second thing that really helps us has to do with transmission of the virus. And so one of the main points here is that people are really only contagious for the most part. There's a few exceptions when they are obviously symptomatic. So there's this sort of prodromal period where people are starting to get sick. They might be developing some mild symptoms. The majority of people are not symptomatic there. They are symptomatic when the rash is present. And so essentially you can look at somebody and know whether they can transmit smallpox or not. This means that we were very effectively able to identify sick people. We were able to identify people who could transmit, and it also means that things like quarantine and isolation were very effective. In addition to this, there are no documented cases of asymptomatic carriers of smallpox. And so again, everybody that got sick, everybody that was symptomatic or able to transmit, we could tell. Okay. And then the third thing that really helped us here was that we did have, and we still do have, an effective vaccine. The vaccine not only is effective ahead of exposure, but as I mentioned in the lecture, it is actually thought to give a measure of protection for up to 3 days post-exposure. And so in terms of identifying where the virus was, in terms of shutting down chains of transmission, and in terms of preventing new cases, all of these things were in our favor with smallpox.